Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to the Air Now podcast. Today, we are finally back with another interview. I imagine it must have been at least 6 to 9 months since we did our last interview, so we're back in action. A lot has changed. I'm very excited about what we've got in store for you today. You're joined today by Beech. How you doing, mate?
Very good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Feeling good about this one. It's not often that I've been excited for an interview, but today, in terms of how we've changed as a podcast and, having Luke here, I know you quite well already, so it's reassuring that, we've got a bit of a rapport and things can run smoothly and we're going to have a bit more of a conversation today.
Absolutely.
Rather than an interview. So just before we get started, just to kind of loosen ourselves up a little bit, so today is the first day that I have brought snacks in for the guys. I know what you're thinking, but what can I say? Hungry staff make for 15% more productive staff. Am I right? No, I'm not a tyrant. But I was wondering, as I was getting these snacks, what do you reckon is the worst possible snack to be eaten during recording a podcast?
Egg sandwich, I'd say.
Egg sandwich.
Strong smell. Offensive.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the smell. I was thinking more audio. I was thinking like maybe a jar of pickles, like extra large. But no,
the sucky sound with it too.
The smacking of it. Absolutely awful. Okay, so I spoke to Luke a moment ago, but for your sakes at home, we're going to have a little bit of transparency. That's what we've been about on the approach to this episode since day one. Letting you guys know, letting Luke know exactly what to expect. And it also gives you an idea of what to look forward to in episode 1 and in episode 2. So this is a bit of a hybrid interview. So we're going to be doing sections with questions and we're going to be doing sections with more open dialogue, conversational style. Because if we want you guys to feel comfortable and understand and have a bit of exposure to the kind of conversations around mental health that we're trying to be having, then you're not going to be sat there with pre-written open-ended questions for your friends and family to really kind of open up things about their personal lives. That's not realistic, and if you're doing that in your personal lives, a little bit weird. I'm joking. So yeah, we're going to be doing numerous different kinds of things. We're going to be talking about C-PTSD, which is a condition that Luke lives with, and also learning about Luke himself. We're going to be learning. Can I start that again? Okay. So we're going to be learning about what C-PTSD is. That's a condition that Luke lives with, and Luke himself. We're also going to be learning about how we, as individuals and audience members, can become allies to C-PTSD and PTSD itself, which is something that Dave Corbin spoke about in episode 3 of his interview. So if you want a better understanding of what that is, go check that out. But it's essentially, if we want to know, understand, and be able to speak to, have dialogues with certain groups of people, then how else can we really do that other than going to these people and learning from them what life is like in their shoes? Something new to the podcast is another section that we've got, and that is going to be representing the voice of others. So the idea of this podcast, this particular episode, has been a bit of a challenge to me because in episodes before, I've been able to kind of hold my own and have these conversations, but when it comes to PTSD and C-PTSD, something which I know less of, then that's not within my comfort zone. So how can I assume that I'm going to be able to represent this group of people when I don't have that information myself? So I have found somebody with PTSD and tried to give that group of people representation and bringing that to the interview so that we can learn on their behalf from somebody else who has that condition. We don't want people to be lonely on this podcast. We want people to feel connected, even if it is with these conditions, to one another, because that can be very powerful for you. So the big intro, isn't it? Bloody hell.
It's so I'm fully locked in there, mate.
Okay, so I want you to treat me like a bit of an idiot. That's trying too hard. So I want you to pretend that I don't know what PTSD or C-PTSD is. So in your own words, how would you explain what the condition is itself?
So basically, the condition that C-PTSD and PTSD is it's basically to do with how your brain processes an event. So when you have an event, say like a car crash or something like that, your brain will compartmentalise where it needs to go. Unfortunately, with PTSD, it just pushes it down. It doesn't deal with it. It puts it in the wrong place.
Okay.
So it's never processed properly. So that's the main diagnosis of it. And then the difference between PTSD and C-PTSD. PTSD itself usually is, not in all cases, but usually is one event, which then has a lasting effect. So usually soldiers have PTSD from going to war.
Yeah.
Intense car crashes, deaths in families, stuff like that. And then complex PTSD is multiple events over a long period of time. So it changes your whole thought process from let's say a normal wavelength to a quite fearful wavelength. So I've lost my train of thought there, sorry.
That's okay. I had a couple of questions based off of what you said.
Yeah.
One of them was more of an observation. So you mentioned that when these events get pushed down rather than compartmentalized, what happens to it when it gets pushed down? Like, what does that mean?
Oh, so it's basically a coping mechanism to an extent. Yeah. So my personal coping mechanism is I shut off. I'm not in my body. Yeah. My mind is 100 miles away. I'm in Barbados, mate. I don't care what's going on. Do you know what I mean? So usually if I'm in that situation, something's happening, I can't deal with it. My brain can't process it. I'm just a block. I'm not there. I'm stonewalling everyone. You can't get a conversation from me. When I come back, absolutely fine. Really? Not a problem. I'm back to normality. But leaves you with triggers and you can fly back to there really quickly. Right. And a trigger is quite intense. It's quite hard to explain to some people for them to understand. So it's the most common one I can do is slamming doors because it's quite a large trigger for myself. If you slam a door and I'm not expecting it, I tend to find myself, it's like childlike fear. It's the only way to put it. I'm very
terrified.
Yeah, and it's to combat the fear comes the anger and everything. So you come across as an angry person, and it's just not what you want, really, is it? So
I can't imagine it's very easy if something like slamming a door can set off such a reaction.
Yeah.
So it must be quite, I don't know, I just putting myself in that position, being wary of something so simple as slamming a door.
Yeah, yes. To an extent, yes. To an extent, no. It depends on the day. Like, I have good days, bad days, same as everyone else.
Yeah.
But it's the main thing to do with the trigger side of it is identifying, because once you've identified it, you've taken a lot of power away from it. You know Absolutely. That is causing that. So when it happens, you have that moment, you can pull yourself out of it. It's a lot of understanding your own body as well as your own mind.
Well, okay. And so talk to me a little bit about when it is that you shut off.
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like? How long does it last? And what does it feel like?
Oh, it can last weeks, to be honest with you.
What?
Yeah.
Surely not.
I've had there was a situation, I was just weeks upon weeks of just nothing. I felt nothing. There was nothing happening.
My goodness.
But it's to do with the severity of the situation. So, fuck it. My situation is to do with my parents. Right. They were not very nice people. One of them's an opiate addict. One of them's just a dickhead. That's the only way to put it. So I found a lot of my situations with them was they would purposely try and create that situation so it would last so long.
My goodness.
Because they wanted that, because you're docile, you're obedient, you're not doing anything that they don't want you to not do. It's everything they want you're doing. So it's kind of brainwashing to an extent, but it's not. It's the way the PTSD works. But when you're in it, it's the best, calmest place you've ever been.
No way.
It's difficult to explain because there's a lot of fear, but you're calm because you're inside yourself. You're not letting anything out. It's so difficult to explain.
Yeah. That's quite marvellous. The only way that I could possibly relate to it, even though it is completely different, is when you're in like an oblivion state of depression, there is almost that comfort.
Yeah.
There's a small sense of comfort in being there because you're so far detached from putting yourself out of your comfort zone that, you know, everything just seems all right and you don't feel like you can be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hit the nail right on the head there. Like, I had an issue last year. It lasted months. Turns out it was connected to my PTSD, but it was like a sub part of it. Months, mate. Yeah. It was about 3 months of. Yeah, I think the best way I can just try and describe the body sensation with it was my brain was tight 24/7. It felt like it was just squeezing.
Yeah.
Like, there was so much tension, I couldn't let it go.
I think that's a good analogy, because if you're stressed, if your cortisol is running high and your heartbeat's running high, you tense your muscles.
Yeah.
You kind of walk around tense and rigid.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good analogy in terms of what the brain does.
Then it's the thought pattern behind it is quite confusing as well, because in your head everything's fine. Like, I'm not having a problem. I'm not having a problem. I'm arguing with everyone around me, but I'm not having a problem. You know what I mean?
You're a bit of a walking terror.
Yeah.
You're all right. It's fine. That's it.
And it's when you sit back and realise, like, the calm sinks in, and then just one day you wake up and you go, I feel really different today. It gives me, for me personally, I'm a little bit panicky from it.
Right.
Like the changes, it causes a lot of anxiety. And once I've settled into it, a couple of days later, I'm like, oh, this is normal. What I have been is not normal.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, no. So is that almost like are you in a conscious state when you're there, or is it kind of your mind dissociates but it's still present?
That's it, exactly. Like my thoughts and I'm present, but I'm not. I'm very detached from my own necessarily actions. Yeah. I'm not checking in properly on myself. I'm not correcting myself as well while checking in, which is quite important, because it's very easy to run down on a thought path. Instead, if you don't correct it, you can end up like Obama's in work, like stitching you up. Do you know what I mean? It can go anywhere. So yeah, it's hard to come out of. I'm not going to lie. It's something just snaps with me and I'm out of it. But it's recognising when I'm in it is harder.
What's it like waking up from that? Is it like a hangover where you're kind of piecing things together, or you're like fully conscious of everything that's just happened? It's just kind of dawning on you that
it's a bit of a hangover. It's for me personally, it's a gradual process. Over a couple of days, I kind of realise it, and then as soon as it's all realised, I'm filled with shame and guilt, which is the weirdest one. Yeah, it's because obviously I've not been myself. I've not been talking to people how I want to talk to people. I've not been behaving how I want to behave. It's
okay. So it's almost like a reactive state.
Yeah, I've always called it my defensive state. Okay. It's my easiest emotion I can go to is just defence. I know how to defend myself in most situations. It's, I've been in many of them. I can get out of them. I know I'm good with it. So for me, I'm very reactive. Nobody gets a millimetre with me.
Really,
and it's not fair really, because people give me a lot of time. They give me a lot of slack.
Yeah. When
I'm in those moments, they get nothing from me. But I've surrounded myself with people that are understanding, so
I imagine that makes a world of difference.
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
I'm sure it's not an easy condition for somebody outside to adjust to.
No.
If that's because, is there a way that somebody could tell, or if these people around you know what it's like and know what to look out for, what are the sort of things with you personally that they would they be able to understand, or? Okay.
I've been thinking about this, and one thing I kind of came to was, for myself anyway, a lot of, you can tell when I'm in a bad mood is because something that's this big is this big for me in those moments. It's anything that doesn't matter normally is mattering, and it's utmost important. It needs to be fixed right now.
Okay.
It's, to an extent, I suppose, it's just extreme control and controlling everything around me.
Yeah. My anxiety is like that. I still see it now. I am years down a long road of working away from it, but even now I still hold such a rigidity, like a tight grip on things, which ultimately comes down to wanting to control them. Yeah. Almost for fear of letting go, and
exactly that.
That's scary.
I was going to say, it's a weird one, because you're doing everything you can to keep these people let's use people as an example, like friends, partners. You do all you can to keep them in tight, and you won't let them go, but in doing that, you're damaging them at the same time, and they want to get away from you. Yeah. I've found sometimes.
If you love something, let it go.
Yeah, it's not really necessarily like let it go and never see it again. It's, you need time away from me, I understand that. I'm not in a good place. Let's go away, work on ourselves, come back later.
Well, okay.
That's for me anyway. That's the main thing I've found, is if I'm not in a good place, leave me to it. I'll be fine.
Yeah. Wow. How do you manage? I know it's a general question, but...
Yeah, it's... So with like PTSD flare-ups to an extent, the main thing I do to manage is meditation. I live by meditation.
Dude, I didn't know that.
Twice a day.
What?
Yeah.
Every day? Oh,
Every day,
right.
mate. I have to meditate. I don't feel right if I don't meditate.
Oh.
It's brilliant. And the paths you can go down on YouTube, like looking at guided meditation and stuff, there's everything for everyone.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I've only really dabbled in the very, very lively and the guided ones. I've done my, what's it called? Positive, loving kindness meditation.
Yeah.
I've done a couple of them, but I've never gone. I don't like the idea of someone talking you through it, but I think that's just something I need to go. But.
Yeah, the first I started with guided to basically understand how to relax properly because I didn't know how to relax. If I'm honest with you,
Yeah, that's perfectly understandable.
So it was when I first started doing it. I'd do it when I wake up in the morning, first thing, 20 minutes meditation, so I'm relaxed for the day. End of the day, go to bed, relax 20 minutes before I fall asleep. And that was that. And then I started realising if I can do that to relax, what else can I do with that? Like, can I navigate some paths in my mind, like trying to be all ethereal? I mean, I couldn't. I went through a lot of thought patterns and processed a lot of stuff, I suppose, in a way. That's one way, but I haven't unlocked my demons, let's say, and released them.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay. So, just a small question. Do you do it like as soon as you wake up?
Not immediately.
Yeah.
I wake up, check my phone for a minute. I'm like, right now it's time. It's away.
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Because I've tried meditating. Like as soon as I wake up, I'm just kind of sat there, kind of.
We'll go straight back. You kind of got to get yourself out of bed, then go back to it.
Wow. So, what do you have any other kind of go-to tools?
If I'm not in a space where I can't meditate, walking, being just outside, it's the most freeing feeling.
Yeah.
But alone outside for me works. I can't go with a group of people on a walk or with the person on a walk because I tend to find I distract myself with them. I'm not focusing on myself and what I need to do to continue. Another thing I do as well, it sounds a bit weird, by my house, we've got this bridle way, and I'll always, if I'm in a bad mood, I'll just run to there. I've never run, mate.
No way.
I cannot run.
Yeah.
I'll run to there, and there's this log that it comes up, goes flat, but as it goes flat, it's got two bits that kind of come out like a bed. I'll just lay in there, mate, meditate.
Yeah.
This is my favourite spot in the summer because it's just so free, and I went there, must have been October time, November. And I was just chilling there, and I kept hearing this, like, something moving around me, and I thought, it's going to be like a rabbit or something. I looked around, there was 3 deer just around me.
Wow.
I love that. That was the best experience. It snapped me straight out of it. I was home in a good mood.
I don't know why I pictured you like rage running. I thought that was just you getting up in the set and you want to kind of get some anger, so you just rage run to one exact spot and then like, okay, I'm good.
It's a bit like Forrest Gump, mate. I'm not going to lie. It's running to a destination and nothing is stopping me and just going.
I love that. That is, that's proper quality. Okay, so that was a massive tangent, but I loved it. I was just
that's cool.
fascinated in what you had to say. So there are different types of PTSD, and I've had a look at some of them. Some of them are normal response, acute, uncomplicated, complex, and comorbid.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, I think complex is the most severe.
Yeah.
But comorbid is the medical term for living with an additional mental illness alongside PTSD.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there are different kind of variations of it, and I think to an extent with my own personal experiences, I've experienced one of them. But you land in the complex.
Yes, unfortunately. Fortunate with me, I suppose.
Okay, so we talked about your definition. So if you were to paint a picture in my mind or the audience's mind of what your PTSD looks like, I'm not talking about what causes it, but if you were given a blank canvas, how would you describe or illustrate the representation of your PTSD, C-PTSD?
That is an interesting question. Just a big black spiky ball, mate. If I'm honest with you, it is just this. Yeah, it's nothing that I don't think you can ever work with it. Let's say, like some mental health illnesses, you can work with. I don't feel like you can work with PTSD, like to better it. It's kind of learning to live with it.
Okay.
It's in that sense. That's why I wouldn't. If you were to picture it, it's just succubus, really, mate. Just sucks everything out of everything.
Is it?
Yeah.
And how would you say that you've learned to live with it?
It took me a fucking long time, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, the realisation part was the hardest part, and then the diagnosis was also really hard because obviously research diagnosis is it's bleak. I'm not going to lie. If you Google it, it's you have it till you die, but
Really?
it doesn't explain the whole process of like your whole life changing experiences sort of thing. Like, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard. That's a hard question, mate. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really stuck on that.
That's okay. So, so you just mentioned a diagnosis and things look bleak.
Yeah.
How would you say you were then compared to where you are perhaps now?
Day and night, completely different
So
person.
you mentioned about learning to live with it.
Yeah.
Talk me through how you've managed to, like, how you've gotten from that place to this place of day and night.
I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, mate. I'm not gonna lie.
That's how you learn them.
My first instant, like first tactic, I suppose you could call it, was tried radical acceptance with it.
Yeah.
Didn't work.
Did it not?
No. I tried to just, to an extent, it hasn't. I tried to radically accept that I have these problems. I'm going to have these problems. Continue. Don't try not to let it get to you. But it's hard when it's taken over your like whole nervous system. You can't ignore that.
Yeah, it's just one of the challenges I've faced in approaching this.
Yeah.
Because with mindfulness techniques and practices and mental illnesses, one size does not fit all.
No.
So
no.
I didn't want to come in here and be like, oh, have you tried radical acceptance?
But then saying that, the most simple tips are the ones I found that work the most.
Okay.
So I struggled to find therapy. That was really the hardest bit of the whole diagnosis thing. Not a lot of therapists want to touch complex PTSD.
Right.
Because if they open Pandora's box and they don't close it properly, it's damaging. So they kind of like to deal with what's happening now, not what happened then.
Okay.
So and I found that helped with me. And it's like what you were saying earlier, like the simple mindfulness techniques. They work. They really do. It's
some better than others.
Oh yeah, there's one mindfulness. It's the count 5 or something.
What's that?
It's like you list 5 things that are, let's say, pink in the room.
Yeah.
And then you list 4 things that look like something else, and you list 3 things that sound like something else. That never worked for me.
Right.
Like I struggle to focus when I'm triggered. I struggle to see as well, which is quite strange. So that couldn't work for me. When I was in that moment, I didn't care what 5 things looked like or what colour they were. Do you know what I mean?
Stop getting me to count 5 things. Jeez.
But the main thing I found for me was nature, just being outside, surrounding myself with it. That is the best tip I can give anybody for most problems in life, is just get out in nature, be with the noises, go out at night in the middle of a forest. You're going to be so full of anxiety if you go out in the forest like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
But it's the best experience I've ever had, mate.
Particularly where we live.
Yeah.
No, not less street lights.
It's dark.
Recently at the moment, bloody hell.
It's dark, isn't it?
Yeah, the night sky is absolutely
crystal clear. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's just something about, because obviously a lot of animals are diurnal or nocturnal in the UK, so they're active when it's dark, and I love animals, mate.
I always worry that if you're out at night, you're just going to get completely sideswiped by a deer that's running like 1,000 miles per hour. It's going to knock you out.
To be fair, when I was a kid, though, I did have an experience once. I was taking my dog for a walk. We had a forest that connected to the back of my parents' house. And I didn't realise it was rutting season at the time. And I had 2 dogs in this hand and a load of bags. And I can't remember what was in the bags in this hand. And we walked up this bit and it came to this huge bush. And about 15 deer just bolted out. And then 2 stags came with it. So I took my dogs and was like, right, we're getting out of here, back onto the track. And as we were running, I just turned around to see what was happening. The 2 stags were chasing us out. That was the only experience I've ever had with a deer, but it's not stopped me. But
fucking hell,
that was just don't go out in October, mate.
Yeah. I love stags, but I would not like to look one eye to eye.
No, it was when I got to that moment of like I'm safe. I just remember cuddling my dogs and crying because I was thinking, I was going to lose you.
So we briefly touched there. We're going to have a little break from what we were talking about to have our first mindful moment. We touched on it a little bit there, but tell me about your dog.
My dog. I'll be honest with you, mate. People say like their dog comes to them at the right time.
Yeah.
My dog came to me at the right time, 100%. He was there when I needed him. He's pulled me out of a lot of problems I had. He's helped me with a lot of problems I had as well, which is the weirdest thing I've ever experienced. I didn't know how to show love properly. He taught me how to show love properly. I didn't know how to show trust properly. He's taught me how to show trust properly. It was really, he's there. Yeah, I'd kill for him.
Yes. And what's his name?
Bowser.
Bowser.
Yeah, he's a staffy with a cleft lip. I love him.
Make a note of that. That's another pet name that we've got on the podcast. We've had fantastic pet names.
Oh, really?
Boomer.
That's a good name for a dog.
What were yours? Kiki, Orla, Tallulah.
Oh, I like Tallulah. That's a good one, yeah.
The single criteria that we have for guests on this podcast is if they've got a cool pet with a cool name.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
Come on board. So does Bowser join you with these nature walks?
Yeah, he's everywhere with me, mate.
Yeah.
If I can help it. He's not at work with me now. He's coming to work with me soon.
Is he?
Yeah, he's going to be with me every day soon. As soon as the busy point starts, I ain't got time to get home, so he's got to come with me. Yeah, he's glued to me, mate.
Yeah.
He is my right arm.
That's so sweet. Okay, so let's have a look at where we are at. We spoke a little bit about triggers. Okay, so if you were to, what would a bad day look like for you? So, say you've woken up. No, not necessarily when you've woken up. But how can a day become a bad day? Like, what's that process, and then how does that look and feel?
So, situational, it can be anything, if I'm completely honest with you, mate. It sounds horrible to say, but literally it can be anything. It is from waking up, unfortunately. I can just wake up, it happens. I'm triggered, usually because I've had a weird dream. It's connected to my past and stuff. It does flood a lot back. It does show I've got a lot of unprocessed stuff, but I'm just not ready to touch it yet, so I'm not going to. It's probably not healthy, but anyway.
You're just looking after yourself.
Yeah. So for me, normally I wake up tense. I've woken up tight. I know I have, and I'll be honest with you, mate. It's once something goes out of my control or something has changed, it is just alarm bells 24/7. The weirdest one that I find is if my day has been set out, and then it's changed at the end. The alarm bells for me is fear. I'm scared something's going to happen. Why have you changed it? Why are you doing this? Are you trying to stitch me up? Do you know what I mean?
I'm not good with changes of plan.
Yeah.
I think that comes from my anxiety. So when I've got something set out, but somewhere along the lines, something or someone or circumstance, plans change, that sets me on a negative path.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not how things were supposed to go.
Yeah.
Things are now going unplanned. That's not good.
Yeah.
So it's
basically that. It's the same. It's a lot of anxiety. It's just the thought process behind the anxiety is so weird. Like, for example, we're at work. Something's changed. The person who's changed the plan is going to attack me. That's my day.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck me. Oh my god. That's awful.
It's intense sometimes, mate. I've learned to live with it, obviously. There's been instances where me and you have had conversations. You've said something, not literally nothing. It's a normal conversation, and I've gone, he's going to attack me in a minute.
No.
I know you wouldn't, mate. I trust you wholeheartedly with a lot of stuff.
Save that for the gym.
Yeah, exactly.
To be fair, if it was on a day that we've got kickboxing,
I am right.
You could rightly say, at some point today, I am going to attack you. We go to the same gym together. I do not premeditate attacks on Luke. That's a bad podcast. Oh, bloody hell.
Touching on that, though, martial arts, brilliant for mental health.
Oh, wait, so I'm going to get onto that.
No worries. No worries.
I'm excited to talk about that as well. Okay, so I've got a couple different style questions here for you. There's three things that I would like for you to give 3-word answers. So I'll ask you a couple questions and then 3 words that would surmise that answer in your own experience.
Yep.
So, living with C-PTSD.
Tough and exhilarating.
Ooh. One more? What does that do?
Tough, exhilarating, exhausting, I suppose, yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Because I certainly found when I got extremely heightened fight or flight mode, completely takes out of you.
Yeah, it's the adrenaline dumps I find for me.
And if it's your nervous system which is being impacted, Bloody hell.
Yeah.
You must feel like a slug afterwards.
Yeah, mate, I'm a slug 24/7, I'm not going to lie.
Keeping it slimy.
Yeah, more slug around, no one notices it.
Oh, okay. What does an episode or reaction feel like?
Intense, consuming, terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay. And what do you prescribe to prevent/heal?
Support network 100%.
I love that.
You need a good support network. I've got a fantastic support network and I'm grateful for my support network. I can't thank them for being the people they are, really.
Okay.
Really understanding, they've got a lot of time, and that's all you need, just understanding and time. If someone's willing to just listen to you for 20 minutes just shouting about nothing they care about, you're good for me.
That's a good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Are there any others for support network?
Support network for me is the thing I found that worked the most. It's hard to explain because everybody is so individual in their own stuff. For me, walking's brilliant in support network and martial arts. But for someone else, knitting, you know what I mean? They might need the calm. I need the activity. They need the calm. It's the main thing I'd say is just find your thing. It's hobbies. Hobbies is the best way for it because you put a lot of passion into a hobby. Hobbies drive you. To an extent, I'm just saying distract yourself.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have PTSD or something, what are the ways that you cope with it? Because you've just mentioned that it's individual for everyone.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what some of yours are. Let us know. You mentioned about support networks. How have you felt? I didn't have this question written down. I'm just curious. How have you felt reaching out has been?
I never reach out, mate.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I've gotten better.
Yeah.
Like, as I've reached out a few times and had positive experiences with reaching out, I'm not inclined to do it now. I'm just more comfortable to do it. Inside my support network, I don't have a problem. I know I'm safe with these guys and everything I say is safe with these guys and vice versa, really. That was quite important that I established that they can talk to me, I can talk to them. That was my main thing. It was, I need 100% open and honesty for me to fully trust you, really. Yeah.
I'm a bit of a... It's hard. It's not that I feel like an imposter because I've got this mental health podcast. I'm encouraging people to reach out, but I can personally be a bit of a shit for reaching out. From my perspective, it's like, this is my burden to carry.
Absolutely.
I want to be the one to be able to get through this for my own strength and my own, to prove to myself that I can do it.
It's competitive nature, that, mate.
Oh, I don't know what you mean. Surely not.
I don't need no help. I can do this by myself.
Yeah. But it's I think a bit comforting and a bit reaffirming, knowing that, it's not easy for everyone to reach out.
No, like, to be fair, like, when I first went to therapy, I mean, that was... It took about 6 years to finally get through to it, from the process of making the call to actually having the session. And that wasn't through the mental health system, that was through me stalling.
Really?
I just wasn't ready, and every time they said, we've sent you this appointment, it's, I don't want to talk to you, I'm not ready. One more thing as well, sorry, just to touch on it, because I just felt it then. With PTSD, the main thing I can say to you is learn to say no.
Okay.
That is the hardest thing I've found, just learn to say no. Okay.
Talk me through that.
So it's a bit contradictory because at the moment I'm going to say yes to everything stage because I want new experiences and that's the only way to do it.
Yeah. But you're in the position to be doing it.
Yeah. So for what I found was with my PTSD, a lot of my boundaries were being crossed because of my past, and I would never correct them, and I would just never say no. I would draining myself to beyond exhaustion, doing everything I can for anybody. People would call me 5-6 times a day. Can you do this for me later? Yeah, no problem. I'd say yes to everything, even if I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Just the power of for thinking that there was consequences for saying no.
Right.
So learning that there is no consequences for saying no. Nobody has these massive overreactions for a simple question. It's gaining that power back. I found was quite freeing. It was it sounds silly, but the power to say no.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It's not always an easy answer because you feel like you're letting somebody down, putting them in a worse off situation, but you do have to look out for yourself.
Yeah, and if the thing is, you will end up putting yourself in situations, surrounding yourself with draining people just because you won't say no. And then you end up harming yourself more and stunting your own growth per se because you're not saying no. It's not saying no to everything. It's saying no to what you're sat there and think, I'm not comfortable with that, so I don't want to do that.
Yeah, rather than volunteering yourself to be put in a state of discomfort and almost guilt and emotional debt.
Yeah, exactly. Emotional debt is a weird one, mate, because that's still with me. I'm not gonna lie.
Box of frogs.
Yeah.
Pandora's box of something.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is. No, it's Pandora's box, mate.
Interesting stuff. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a couple positive questions.
Yep.
Just take a quick little break. So, what is something that you're looking forward to at the moment?
At the moment, so today I've got a games night. Really looking forward to that.
I'm going to ask you about that later.
I love a games night, mate. I've signed up for a charity boxing match, which is in April. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, you actually.
Yeah, I was a little bit nervous, which was a bit strange when I signed up for it because it's a couple of months away, but I've sat and thought about it. I've done a bit of sparring in boxing. I've noticed in myself where my abilities have improved in boxing. So I'm like, I'm going to give it everything I've got. Like, get in there, show it, get rid of the fear, just go for it.
Good for you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what is something that you're working on at the moment?
Something I'm working on at the moment. I'm really working on saying yes to everything, as I said a minute ago.
Yeah.
Because I will go through stages of saying yes, go through stages of saying no, and I find it's very freeing to just say, okay, I'm not doing anything new at the moment. I want to do something new, stuff like that. I'm looking forward to stuff like that. Working on friendships as well quite a lot at the moment. I'm really trying to, because I know in myself, I struggle to show my. It sounds a bit wet. I know saying that is a problem in itself. But show my feelings to male friends, I'm struggling with that.
I love you, man.
Yeah, I'm very much you cunt. That means you're my friend.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's kind of the banter.
Yeah.
Underlying British banter.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn to be a bit more, I suppose, more vulnerable with people.
That's a sick one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Men don't like being. Well, we're not trained to be vulnerable with people.
No. Vulnerability and compassion ain't for men, mate. It's for women, children, and animals.
Yeah. Raised to be tough, hardy, and capable.
Yeah.
Never really educated on how to feel.
No. To be fair, mate. It's hard to educate yourself as you get older, I find, because motivation for me was quite a hard one.
Yeah. The thing is, no one's going to make you learn.
No, you have to do it off your own back.
Made to learn.
Yeah.
Or refuse to learn at all.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not entirely sure how to begin this side of the conversation, but we're going to talk about narcissistic families.
Yep.
We found this in the 12 Days of Mindfulness when we made an episode on dealing with kind of conflicts in families, and that kind of, I suppose, increased my awareness that not everyone has a lovely, idealistic, picturesque family, but it seems like you might potentially be on the further end of that scale towards the extreme.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
To an extent. My mother was, she has narcissistic personality disorder.
Really?
So, I know quite a lot on the narcissistic family dynamic. It's caused my PTSD, I'm not going to lie to you. It's all encompassing, really. So what do you need to know, really? What would you like to know?
Well, people often talk about someone being narcissistic, or every conversation in their head starts with I and me. Yeah. But you say it's diagnosed.
Yeah, so the problem with narcissism at the moment is it's a bit of a buzzword.
Yeah,
like everybody's throwing the word narcissist around. If you knew a true narcissist, it's not what you think it is.
Okay.
So it's not just the selfishness. They are very selfish people, but it's the manipulation side of it. Mm-hmm. They manipulate you to basically become their servant, and all they want they only want supply from you, and supply is your negative emotions. They want you to react to them.
Really?
That I don't know why. I'm not wired that way as to what that gives them, but they want the reaction. They want control. They want you to be a extension of themselves.
Right.
So as everybody in this room right now is an individual, no one's an extension of nobody. So you come into a lot of conflict. And the dynamic side of it is, so you obviously got the narcissist. In my instance, it was my mother. And then you have an enabler sometimes, not all the time. The enabler was my father. And then you've got, as it goes down, you obviously got, I'm the youngest of 5 siblings.
I did not know that.
Yeah, parents were very busy. So, and all of them are sisters as well, so it's horrible for me as a child being the only boy and the youngest. But yeah.
Okay.
So the dynamic for me was my eldest sister, so the eldest one, or the absolute eldest one, because I've got a half sister. I've never met her before in my life. She was discarded.
Right.
So then I've got the second eldest, who I consider my eldest because I've actually had a relationship with her. She was known as the golden child.
Mm-hmm.
It is very common to be the firstborn, which I don't understand why. But in that dynamic, the golden child is the one who does nothing wrong. Everybody must aspire to be this person.
Yeah.
And then you've got the scapegoat, which was the sister beneath her in age. Whatever's gone wrong, like when the Twin Towers went, it was my sister's fault. Do you know what I mean? That sort of stuff. Sorry if I'm not allowed to say that.
No,
but
that is one hell of a conspiracy theory.
it is like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's like sub-dynamics of it. Like, so whilst my sister that was the scapegoat was living with us, my other sister, she was filling in the role of the peacemaker. So there was a lot of violence in my house growing up. She did her best to stop the violence. And I fulfilled the role as forgotten. I was just locked away, just left to my own devices.
Okay. And
then as time changed, my sister that was the scapegoat left very young age. That flipped the dynamic to a way that was unreal, where I became the scapegoat. And then my older sister was still the golden child, and then the other one was still the peacemaker. But that side of it, the dynamic isn't necessarily the problem to an extent, but it is where if you're in the scapegoat side, you can never do nothing right. You'll never achieve anything. You belittle yourself constantly. You never praise yourself as you get older. And with the golden child is you've never been corrected. You think you're right 24/7. That's the worst part of the narcissism. Like you're brought up wrong, effectively.
Okay.
You're brought up on a, saying that wrong sounds horrible because, but you're brought up without the right mindset. The world is not how
Not
you're
really
brought up in. Yeah. But the worst part of it with the narcissism and the enabler on that part. So my mum was basically, she'll deny this point till she dies, but I'm right and she's wrong. She's an opiate addict.
Okay.
Every day, half a bottle of morphine. Do you know, every illness under the sun that she's never displayed. She's faked a broken back for years, but could chase me around the house and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Clear opiate addict and with narcissism. So it was just a really bad boiling pot, that one. And then she met my father. So that's another thing as well with narcissism. Sorry to go off on a tangent.
It's okay.
They will find, when they're searching for a partner, let's say, they won't go for love or connection. They'll go for, you do exactly what I want you to do. You're coming with me. Yeah.
Wow.
So, I did used to antagonise him. Everybody's not perfect. Used to call him Bitch and Butch. My dad was the bitch, my mum was the butch. She snapped her fingers and he went running. Do you know what I mean?
Bloody hell.
So in that instance, that's where the toxicity comes, and the supply side of it. Is the thing that is the most damaging thing a narcissist can do to somebody, because all you're doing is just diminishing their whole existence. You want to break them down and rebuild them into this person that you are. And then when you fight that, you're met with violence. Not all the time though, I must admit that for me, I was met with violence. So a lot of people, there's things called cold shouldering. That's obviously quite common narcissistic trait.
Like negligence and...
Yeah, if you're not doing what I say, I'm not talking to you.
Right.
You're talking at my back, you're not talking to me. Okay. I'm not listening to you. Belittling is a really, really big move. They'll belittle everything about you, your whole personality, the way you look, the way you talk, everything.
And this is to a child.
Yeah, I was about 5, 6 years old, and do you know what I mean? I'm not bothered now, you know what I mean? I'm 30 odd now, and it's made me the person I am. I hate a lot of it, and I'm angry for a lot of it, but I've let a lot of it go. Yeah. Because holding on to the hate and the anger was doing me problems.
Where's it going to go?
Yeah, exactly. I'm only, in my own sense, I was on a hunt for power. I wanted to take power back because they took so much from me. Wow. Removing myself was my power.
Okay.
I've got all the power I want. I control me.
I'm sure that's not a realisation that you came to overnight.
No, and I tell you what, it was a hard one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in my family dynamic, there is many ways to deal with a narcissist. One way is just making them known, because not everybody is a true narcissist. Some people, you've got some other mental health conditions such as, it's not called borderline personality anymore, it's emotionally unstable personality disorder.
Okay.
In males, a symptom of that is narcissism. You're not narcissistic, you just have a narcissistic trait.
Right.
So it's not always going, oh, this is narcissism, so I have it. It's your intention behind it.
Mm.
If you're doing it to cause harm, you're narcissistic. If you're doing it because you're just reacting, it's a high chance you've just got traits.
Right.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, that's quite all right. So it seems as though there's a lot of misconceptions around narcissism or true narcissism, particularly since it's become a buzzword.
Yeah.
So what are some of the main, how would you differentiate true clinical narcissism to what a lot of people maybe misconceive it as?
To be honest with you, the best way to do it is time. You need to spend time in this person's company and understand their actions. If their actions are only going to benefit themselves, challenge it. If they can't see a problem, then that's that.
Right, so it's not just serving for yourself, but not being able to see actually that's not okay.
Yeah.
So not doing things for other people and not understanding.
Yeah.
I think I'm making that a bit wordy. How can I reframe that?
It's very self-centered, but almost subconscious.
Yeah.
It's
there's no other way to it.
No, and it's the maliciousness behind it as well sometimes.
Really.
So it's quite difficult to explain, like what I'm trying to think.
Mm.
So let's say a scenario. My mum asked me to hoover the downstairs, and I said, "Yeah, I'll do it in a minute." She would then go, "You're just like your granddad. You're fucking useless. Get out of my house." At like 8 years old. So it's that sort of stuff. And then you come out, and then you come back in, and then you have to grovel to be allowed to have your dinner and stuff like that.
Jesus, right.
I'm making it quite morbid, and I do apologise, but that was just my experience. This is the experience I can give. Not everybody's is going to be that intense, but some people are going to have it much worse than I do. So I'm happy to share what I've known, but it's the best way for narcissism. I don't really know. Really, it's to distinguish it. It's tricky, mate. It's so hard because it's a bit like many other things. It's individual. The main thing they want is supply, and that's all I can say. Whether that be upsetting you, making you angry, making you do anything that they want, that's their supply.
Okay.
And if you have the narcissist enabler relationship targeting you, that's where it gets really interesting.
Is it because they've got that supply almost at all times?
Yeah, so the enabler is somebody who wants nothing than to... The way that it's been explained to me, it seems very like... I don't know what the word is. The analogies they've used make it seem like quite glorious, but it's not.
Okay.
So the enabler will see the narcissist as this all-being, everything is perfect.
Yeah.
They've portrayed themselves as they can do no wrong. If you come with me, your life will get better. And really all they're doing is just pushing you down and pushing you down.
And feeding off of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And once they get into the stage of enabler, they have to do nothing because they're doing it for them now. They're like, so in my dynamic, my dad would be at work, my mum was not working. I'd come home from school, she decided I did something wrong that day, I'd just go, yeah, whatever, just leave it, I'm going to go off. Go sit in my room. She never followed me in my room whenever he wasn't around, but the second he walked in the door, up the stairs, beating the crap out of me, basically.
Really?
So that's when I realised there's a problem, because he wasn't even in the house. There was nothing all day. He's come in, he's on that intensity. So I was like, there's a problem here, looked into it, and then discovered the narcissistic personality, and then...
I see what you mean by the manipulation.
Yeah.
Because it almost made to become a tool.
Yeah, that is that. He is not... My father, to me, has never really been my father. He's just been a person in my house.
Yeah.
Because he's never served... Oh, that sounds so weird to say. Never served me in that sense.
No, I get you.
He was never my father. He was never my sister's father. He was just my mum's husband.
Wow. Yeah, it's quite powerful.
Yeah, and it's... Yeah. Made me who I am. I don't care.
Do you like who you
I do now. I hated myself for years, mate.
are? Yeah.
But
It took those years to become who you are.
to extend on the narcissism, this is why I hated myself for years. So obviously you belittle yourself 24/7. That's the mental side of it. But there's another aspect of it that took me a long time to find out, which is that I will seek narcissism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Is it because that's what you're used to?
Yeah, I'm comfortable. I know how to deal with it.
It's wow. I felt that kind of notion when you were talking about the narcissist seeking out someone that they can use, essentially, because you find that with people with particular dependencies and particular conditions that they either find or attract that towards them.
Yeah.
I can't explain it for anything, but it's interesting that you've sought that out on yourself.
Yeah, it was, to be real, it took me a long time to realise it. I was in a 10-year relationship with a narcissist, and it took me 9 years to figure it out.
Really?
Because it was very covert. Covert narcissism is a thing, but they'll always drop it, always. But the thing is as well, it's that whole, the thing is for me, I learned, because it was a romantic relationship as well, I went into it with rose-tinted glasses, everybody does.
You have a term for that, don't you?
Yeah, forelskap. That's
Forelskap?
I think it's Norwegian term, same as Schadenfreude. There's no translation.
Quote that then, thank you.
Sorry, remind me what we were talking about all the time. Schadenfreude. Yeah, forelskap. So you have the rose-tinted glasses in a new relationship. I found that was going on for quite a long time.
Okay.
But the second I didn't necessarily conform, it's hard to explain, because in that moment I wasn't seeing it as conforming. It was, she wanted to go to the pub and I wanted to go to the Thai or something. Big fallout. It was, I wasn't falling in her line, so I just thought, I don't want the argument, things are going well, let's just fall in line.
Yeah.
And then because it's so natural for me, you end up falling into it so quickly, and then you end up doing what I've done, which is give everything to it and then have it all ripped away, and then you're back at square one again.
Yeah, with absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and then it's just learning how to deal with myself in that sense, learning where my red flags are for narcissism, which, is quite hard. And now, thankfully, right now, I'm in a newish relationship. We've been 8 months today, actually. Yeah. And never felt better, mate. Going so strong.
I was going to ask.
Yeah.
So, talk to me a little bit about your new relationship.
So, her name's Amy. She's fantastic, mate. She's so patient with me, and that's just what I need.
Do you reckon she's listening?
She will be, yeah.
Yeah. Best behaviour.
Yeah. You're great. But no, honestly, I went to school with her as well. And I didn't know her in school, but I knew of her.
Yeah. And
I'm glad she didn't know me then, because I was a terror away in school, mate. Like, I went wild because I was so restricted at home. I had my freedom at school, and
I see.
Yeah. That was, my behavioural problems came from that. So we met last year, and we started just seeing each other again. It was weird because we went for a date, and I'm so nervous meeting people.
Yeah.
I've just got such a nervous disposition. So relaxed with her. Like, we were walking around the forest, took my dog for a walk, my dog loved her, went to the pub, had a few drinks, met up again. It just kind of just went, from the moment we met, it just flowed. We haven't really been apart, really. It's been really good so far.
So talk to me about some of the biggest contrasts into your prior relationship to the one you've got now, and how have they come about, how they make you feel? The
biggest thing I can tell is communication, mate. Yeah. The communication is so easy with Amy.
Okay.
So I said a moment ago, I struggle to communicate my problems. It's just natural with Amy, and it is with her to me, I hope anyway. I can just wake up and go, I'm not going to have a good day today, so I'll keep you informed of how it's going. And she's like, okay, no worries, let me know what you need.
Yeah.
And it's just that, not making me deal with the problem and become a normal person. It's sitting with the problem, acknowledging the problem, but trying to change it.
I suppose a part of it as well is having that comfort in, I've got to tell this person something.
Yeah.
But knowing that this person isn't going to turn that against you.
That is a really big thing. This person isn't
going to make that a problem for me.
Yeah.
I imagine it's so, what's the word I'm looking for? Refreshing and encouraging and welcoming to know that I've got something personal that I want to tell this person, and I don't have to be afraid to tell them.
The biggest thing for me, actually, you just reminded me when you just said that, was we'd been seeing each other for a couple of weeks, and I was having a problem with my PTSD comes abandonment issues, and that really kicked off one day. My anxiety was through the roof and stuff like that. So I kind of had to sit down to her and was like, I have something to tell you. It's not that bad, but it's quite serious. So she's like, okay. I was like, I'm having a bit of a mental health problem. I've got mental health problems. I've got PTSD and stuff. And she just went, okay, do you want to talk to me about it? And I said, about right now, not about the past. That was it. It's been left dead, mate. She knows what I want her to know, which is stuff that I'm comfortable with her knowing, and she's happy with that. She needs to know no more because that's in the past. She cares about right now. And just that attitude, it just changed my whole outlook with her completely. Yeah. It's, it doesn't need to know my story. She doesn't care. Like, to an extent she does, but she doesn't care because that isn't me now.
And is that important with someone with PTSD?
Yes, absolutely, mate, because to an extent, I don't know if it's actually the PTSD or the narcissistic family that I need to have that separation for myself, because their morals aren't my morals. This is the way I see it. So if you want to know about my past, in my head, you've connected me to that. I've removed that connection myself, so I don't want that connection.
Okay.
So having that comfortability of Amy saying, you're not connected, was the biggest weight off my shoulders, mate. It's, I am my own individual. I'm not an extension of them.
I imagine that's quite empowering for you as well, because you've detached so many of these things from your past. But when something's gone a little bit haywire, to use your analogy, and you've spoken to her about it, and she says, that's okay, I'm not too worried, or I'm not going to make you reconnect.
Yeah.
Because I'm happy with you.
Yeah, she's focusing on the here and now, and that is the main thing I need.
It's magic.
Yeah.
Oh.
Doesn't care about the past. Cares about the future, which is good, because I'm very pessimistic, mate. I'm looking forward to the future with a glass half empty. You know what I mean? But she's brilliant, mate. Really brilliant with my mental health. It's
shout out to Amy.
Yeah, good girl. That one, good girl.
Okay, so is there anything that you'd like to talk about narcissistic families in terms of... one question I did have, but also if there's anything, just keep it in the back of your mind for the moment. Is there any living with someone with narcissistic?
Yes, absolutely.
There is.
It's very dependent on the individual, though.
Okay.
If the individual who has the narcissism is taking the steps to correct their behaviours because they don't like them, because you can't help what you're born with, like absolutely. Yeah. If you don't want to be that way and you can't change it because it's your personality, you go to someone to help. They are going to be the ones who are most willing to absorb all the information, sit down and listen to what you're saying. Is like, you can't do this because it hurts my feelings when you belittle me. And if they go, I'm really sorry, I don't mean to do that, I'm really going to work on it, and you can see the steps.
Really?
There is light at the end of the tunnel for narcissism. They're not just an all-being, all-encompassing.
Yeah, because there's so much stigma around, and I use the stigma because it has a negative connotation around narcissism, where anything associated with it is, okay, that's bad, that's not good. But if like you say, there is adaptability, there is will, and there is
positivity with narcissism as well, for example. So
they're individuals as well, aren't they? They're humans.
Most high CEOs have narcissistic personality disorder. Yeah. They need that ruthlessness to get to the top. It's where you channel your aim, really.
Right.
If you channel the aim into bettering yourself, yes, you can have narcissistic personality. You can be a bit of a dick, but you're a nice guy at heart. Do you know what I mean? It's stuff like that.
Sometimes relatable. So is there anything that you'd like to touch on before we...
I suppose, because it was one big turning part for me with the whole narcissism. Initially I went low contact with my parents.
Okay.
So I limited the conversation or just contact to what I was comfortable with. So I had to take that power and put it on my terms. Yeah. That was quite hard because they weren't respecting my boundaries. That's the first... Sorry, I didn't even add that in. That was really stupid. The main thing you can do with a narcissist, is boundaries. Just implement boundaries.
Okay.
Because a narcissist will break your boundaries. This is where if you want to continue with a narcissist, you want to help a narcissist, you need to put those boundaries in, and you can't give an inch. You've got to be firm. Wow. That is that. You do not cross it.
Okay.
But for me, I went low contact with my parents because estranging yourself from your parents is hard.
I bet.
It's the weirdest feeling in the world. These people society tells me these people are people I need in my life. Turns out I didn't. I'm better without them. But it's not going to be the same case for everybody.
Yeah.
So I was low contact. They broke my boundary immediately. So I was sat there for, I'd say 20 minutes just pondering, like, what do I do? Do I correct? What do I do? But I feel like correcting is just going to be pushed to the side, forgotten about, same thing again tomorrow. So I decided there and then to go no contact.
Okay.
So I literally messaged them. I was like, you've broken my boundary within the first half an hour. I don't want to be connected to you as a member of your family, such and such. Like, I'm no longer your son. Please do not contact me. I know that was a bit ruthless.
Goodness, yeah.
I was, myself, I was feeling high emotions, didn't really know what to write, so I just needed to get the point. The main point I wanted was, I'm not part of you anymore. Leave me alone. And it's been a few years, many years since. And the weirdest part, mate, was the grieving. Like, I grieved for my parents, even though I hated them.
Yeah.
And that first year, I was passionate. I could have burnt their house down. I got what's the word? I got back in touch with my sister. I hadn't seen her for 14 years or something like that.
Bloody hell.
And then I found out more through her, which made me even more angry, so I had to talk to her. She was brilliant for me during that whole process, because she'd done it 14 years prior, so she was well out the tunnel with the grieving process, and told me everything I'm doing is normal, just don't run with it. Like, feel it, let it happen, move on from it.
Right, I see.
Which was really good, but it was when she explained the grief for me, because I was just so sad for days that they weren't around, but I hated them.
Yeah.
It was a proper duality in my mind, like I had proper cognitive dissonance. I didn't know what to do. So I called my sister and I spoke to her, and she said, you're not grieving them, you're grieving the family you wanted.
Wow.
Yeah. She was like, you're not grieving them. They're not your family. You're grieving what it could have been.
Fucking hell.
And that was, oh mate, as soon as she said that, I just remember I was sat at work on one of the farms in like a gravel bay, and I just done all my windows up and just bawled for half an hour, and I had to hide round the back and thought no one can see me.
Shitty death. That's heavy.
Yeah.
That's big.
And in my experience, I've got a friend, he's gone, his parents they're not narcissistic, they don't respect his boundaries because his upbringing wasn't very good. Like, he wasn't a very well behaved child growing up. They didn't nurture him the way he needed, because he's got like neurodivergency problems. So he's not no contact with his parents, he's gone low contact. And when he was going through the same thing, he's like, I can't be around them because they cause me harm, they cause me pain. I don't want to lose them, I don't know how to do this, but I'm so sad all the time. And I said, you're just grieving what you want, mate. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, is there a way you could talk to them, tell them what you're feeling, because then they might start showing you that, and then build your relationship. So far right now, he's on really good terms with his parents. The way he's got it set up perfectly for him. I feel, I don't know if I helped him. I'm taking like 1% of the help. That's the best feeling in the world for me, mate. Just, I love to help people.
Yeah.
It's something I've learned in the past couple of years in myself. Yeah. That helps with the narcissism side. That was what I was going with. That is giving back what you feel's taken from you. Just give it to people.
Yeah, I had a quote the other day by John Paul Sartre. I think I'm pronouncing that right. It's freedom is... Oh, come on, Sam. Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not being the person you were built to be, it's being the person you want to be. That's the way I've always seen it.
It's not being defined by what's happened to you. It's defining yourself from that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, good for you.
Heavy.
Okay, what can we say? What can we say? All right. What do you love about yourself?
What do I love about myself? That is the worst question you can
absolutely
ask me, because there is not a thing, mate.
Oh.
I'm still in healing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just self-deprecating shit, mate. I have days where I love parts about myself. Not often.
What's something that you're proud of yourself for?
I'm proud I've not become what I could have become, because I was going the path I was going on, mate. It wasn't going to be good. I would be in prison right now. I'm not going to lie. I'm glad I've literally 180'd. I've turned my whole life around from that.
It seems like you've changed massively in the past few months.
I have hugely. Yeah, I had quite a cathartic experience over Christmas, and it really, really helped me.
Talk to me about that.
So, as we mentioned a moment ago, we both do kickboxing. And I've done a few sessions with you. Your skill, mate, through the roof. I'm never going to stop saying it.
It's not.
To me, it is. You are the god.
Hey. Well, look at that.
And so Yeah, so I've obviously as time's progressed, I've done it for a few months. My stamina's improved, my skills have improved. I've noticed I've gotten better. I've noticed I'm better in myself. Like my energy's better. My mindset's clearer. And I was sat. It was I had a month off work for Christmas because I don't take holiday for the year, and I sat cooking dinner for me and Amy, and I kind of sat there like, going training tomorrow. What am I training for? And I was like, I haven't organised a fight. What do I want to train for? I need to train towards something. And then just in my head, I was like, you just need to be the person that you needed around you when you're a kid. And I just literally just froze. I just sat and thought about it for a minute. I was like, is that it? Was that the answer I needed? I just need to be that person who could have protected me as a child. And since mate, it hit me hard. Like, we've touched on it, and
we did.
As soon as you said it, it was that moment hit me, and it's like, oh, it's not. That is real. That is true. Because I doubt myself a lot. When that thought came in, I thought, it's just one of them things. But I've kept it in there because I was like, no, maybe it's. I feel good for it. And then when you said it, I was just like, you've hit that nail on the head. I need to be my own protector. I need to protect my inner child. That's what inner child work is. Because when I was told to do inner child work, I thought, man, I'm jumping in puddles and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
To be fair.
I didn't realise, for me, it was become the protector you needed.
Yeah.
Become that person. Like, not only in the sense of, like, I'm not saying, like, if you have a rough childhood like myself, go do kickboxing and learn to fight. That's not the case. It's
who did you need to...
I needed someone who was willing to protect me. And to be fair, it's moulded my personality. My personality was moulded from it. I hate injustice, mate. If somebody is bullying, I hate it. It's just, be kind. It's not hard. Be kind.
It's such an empowering thing, particularly when you realise.
Yeah, it was that moment you said it, mate. That moment of realisation of, okay, I'm on the right path here. Huge sense of relief overwhelming relief of that I'm finally on the right path. It was.
Oh mate, that's fucking massive.
Yeah,
that's so big. Luke and I had a conversation in preparation for this interview, and we basically just had a chat. I mean, it wasn't all just podcast stuff. It's a very tall order to ask someone to come on and speak about these things, and it takes short supply of fucking bravery to do so. But one of the things we were talking about was how, like you said, we've become the people that we needed that are most vulnerable. So in the counselling, I've been doing counselling a little bit towards the end of last year. We'll touch on that in another episode. But I was made aware by my counsellor that I had become the person that I needed at my most vulnerable, which was the incident that I've spoken about in the podcast. I became who we needed, not consciously. I become a firefighter, saving people, kickboxer, defending myself, and someone who can look after me mentally in that state, and
absolutely
inadvertently become the same.
Absolutely, and the thing is, I wasn't even attempting to, and I assume you weren't either. You're just doing things that have piqued your interest, and then you're just driven with it. Yeah, and it's unreal, mate. Yeah,
it felt for me very empowering. Like you're honouring that part of you.
Exactly, and it kind of felt this is going to be the wettest part. But in my head, I was like, I'm just going to imagine I've got like a little me behind me all the time.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
So I'm just going to imagine he's there. Like, if I start feeling a bit nervous, turn around, it's all right, mate, I got it. Off you go.
Oh, I fucking love that. That's so wholesome. That's so cool. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, a nice way to end the first episode.
Absolutely.
End on a positive. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for staying for this first episode. Please do stick around for the second one, because we're going to be talking all things allyship. We're going to be talking a little bit more about sports. We're also going to be hearing questions from somebody who has PTSD. So Luke will be able to give really kind of insightful and well,
I'll do my best.
Yeah, he's going to do his best.
Not about insightful, mate.
But yes, stick around. Tune in next week. Thank you for being here. We love you, and please take care of yourself.